Carlos Nelson with Cascade Media Group, and today we are in our Urban Professional channel, and we have Miss Sonya Thomas on. Welcome to the show, Sonya.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Tell our audience a little bit about yourself. First, tell them what you're doing right now, and then I want you to go back to your little childhood and yeah, and tell
Okay.
them a little bit about who you are, and then we're gonna get into our conversation about the lack of response to from our political leadership per se, uh, from their constituents, and not returning phone calls.
Okay. Well, again, my name is Sonya Thomas. Thank you so much for having me. I am a native to the Kansas City area, born and raised here. I'm currently an HR manager for the Preeminent Serenity Funeral Home here in Kansas City, which is owned by Mike Atkins, who is a very good friend of mine. Before I came here to Serenity, most of my professional career was in the field of education. So I worked for Kansas City Public Schools previously in alternative and adult education. I worked for Metropolitan Community College in career services. I worked for a short stint with the Kauffman Foundation and a startup program that they had. And then I just decided that I wanted to do something different. And HR is my professional, is where my professional training is. And so that's why I decided to join my friend over here at Serenity. So, again, being a Kansas City native, I went to Southwest High School here in Kansas City, which is now closed, but was the best high school public education that you could get here in Kansas City back in the early 90s. So that dates me a little bit, but
That's where
love
my daughter
Southwest.
graduated, Rosanna Nelson. She was over there at Southwest.
Okay. All
But I
right. So
might
then you
say
know.
she was at Hogan also, had been at Van Brunt. Back in the 90s, you know how our
Yeah.
education system was, and kids were from here, and then Westport closing.
hmm Yeah, a lot of change happened during that time. And so unfortunately, Southwest didn't survive the change, but the legacy is still there. Some great folks came out of Southwest. I'm very proud to represent Southwest still after all these years. So, so happy to have had that experience. All of the schools where I went to Bingham Middle, which has been closed for so many years, but was also an amazing experience. I just had a great uh, my K 12 experience was great. So just so happy to have gone to those particular schools to kind of do what I do now. It trained me to be able to, be a thinker and a leader and those kinds of things. So,
Who were some of your mentors coming up?
oh man. So my mother years ago worked for the Urban League, and I was a huge fan of Laura Ruffin and Bill Clark. Um,
Boy, you going back to my era now, Bill Clark.
yeah. And so to me, they just were outstanding, people, very involved in the community, very knowledgeable and astute, and just a great representation of folks that I thought, maybe I could, be something like them with what we didn't call swag, but they definitely had swag and a lot of influence, in a good way, and worked really hard for the community. So those were some of the people I definitely admired. Carl Boyd was another one that I thought was just a really
Well, you going
vocal.
into your education bag, because Carl Boyd is my fraternity brother, but Carl gave me my first shot on radio. Most people don't know that he's the one who started that generation rap,
Uh-huh.
and he had his own show. And
Yeah.
Carl, on our sports channel, Cascade Sports, Carl said, "Carlos, I'm gonna give you a break, bro. I'm gonna let you have a half an hour every Thursday to bring whoever you want on." And
Very nice.
that people don't be giving you no
Mhm.
action for real, for
Yeah.
real. And boy, he's been so much to our community overall. Great role model.
Yes, absolutely. I would definitely say when I was in elementary school, I had a teacher. Her name was Annie Fryer when I was at Troost Elementary. And I remember her all these years later because she just kind of took me under her wing and was just really nurturing and encouraging, just reinforced the fact that education was so important and what we do with these opportunities. And I don't have the story where I didn't have teachers of color. Like I had plenty. So it kind of is shocking when you hear people say that they didn't have any teachers that look like them. I definitely did. And Annie Fryer was one that really stuck out to me just because she was so poised and well dressed and put together all the time. So I really admired her too. I mean, I could go on and on. Margaret Arnold was another teacher of mine, second grade teacher at Tooth. Like these people were very, very instrumental and just, you know, showed you what people say that they don't see, that some things are possible, that we don't even I never wanted to be a teacher, never wanted to go into education, but that's kind of where I landed. And it had a lot to do with those influences.
Do you feel that our teachers are being valued from a financial standpoint and from a educational personal standpoint? And now when I say our teachers, I'm primarily talking about Black teachers, because when I was involved with education, uh, back, that had to be 35 years ago, there were no male teachers in the Kansas City School District per se.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that, do you think our community as a whole value the people that are teaching our kids?
Ooh, that's a loaded question. I think some of us do. I think that some of us who value education really can appreciate the sacrifices that are made for our Black teachers to go into education. That is a tough field because it comes with so many things that have nothing to do with academics. And so I personally value teachers, Black, white, what have you, but I hold them to a certain standard as well. So, I don't think as a community we do
All
value
right, I was getting
teachers.
ready to say, because you know what you just brought up that people don't see? I'm telling you, back then, the teachers have the answers to the questions that they put on the board in some of your books. Them kids had me going so much. I had the answers and everything. I have it on the board. They challenge you at
Mhm.
every moment, especially back then, and telling me they big brother would see me after school and
Oh,
and all of that type stuff. There are a whole lot of challenges that I don't think our community understand, our teachers go through, uh, that have nothing to do with education to
nothing to do
a
with it.
degree. Has to do with all with home training and some other
Mhm.
things, and that's very hard
It
to
is.
deal with, especially from my perspective, when you're undervalued and
Mhm.
uh,
But I
no
can
one
tell you a
understands.
person that I feel like is changing the game of education, and that's Chanel Smith. She's the principal at Lincoln High School from Kansas City, graduated from Lincoln. Her mom graduated from Lincoln, has an amazing story, and she has really done some phenomenal things with Lincoln in her short time there. So she also has an organization. Um, it's a walking billboard. It's HBCU walking billboard, and she really promotes the
That's her
understanding
organization.
that is her under. Yes.
All right, I've heard about that over the last year and a half. I thought that was some youngsters stuff, that's the HBCU walking billboard.
Well, she's a young person. She's a young lady, but she's just doing some amazing things. And what I didn't hear that was happening at Lincoln is, of course, the kids are encouraged to go to college because they're supposed to be academically advanced and so forth. But she really promotes the option of an HBCU, which I think is really outstanding because, you know, there has got to be some respect that comes along with going to a HBCU. It's not just going to your Ivy League schools and that kind of thing, because our HBCUs, in my opinion, are Ivy League. And
I'm
so the light,
HBCU, and my grandson just graduated from Lincoln Prep, and he's down there at Langston.
okay. So, I mean, she's doing some really, amazing things with creating that awareness and promoting things that are outside of academics, which is, I just think is so important. It's not all about academics. You want them to be real, well-rounded individuals. And so she's doing that for Lincoln, and I just admire her a whole lot.
Do you think, since we're on the subject of education, do you think that we're paying attention to who we're electing to serve on these school boards?
No.
What do you think that we need
No.
to do in order, if you have any solutions? I have solutions, but most people, uh, the way society works, everybody says, well, what's the solution? And when you tell them the solution, all the solutions are really simple and straightforward. You tell them, and then they still say, what's the solution?
Mm-hmm.
Communications, in my estimation, is the only solution we have for every problem we have. If you can't communicate with your base, and our base is the bottom 3/4 of our community, and they're really not plugged in. The people
Mm-hmm.
that will be watching this interview are people of a certain social and educational background, and they already somewhat know what's going on. That's why they watching this interview
Right.
and interviews like this. But the real power comes when you have the bottom 3/4 knowing who the principal of Lincoln Prep is,
Right.
knowing what her agenda is, knowing what uh, page that our whole community should be on,
Mm-hmm.
and so forth. What do you have to say about the digital communication and having access to information uh, in a sufficient time frame to act on it?
So here's the thing, we talk a lot about the digital divide, right? But our folks have access to social media, which is your Facebook and your Twitter and your all of these other things. So in a sense, there is a divide, but the divide is knowing how to use that technology that you have to deliver the same message that you would deliver to those who are um, more astute or more willing to go out and search for the information. So the delivery has got to be different. And it's teaching us that Facebook can be a platform where you can go and talk about things other than what vacation you went on or what is the hottest meme or those kinds of things. It can be used as educational and informative too. So we just have to look at our use of technology different, because that to me is it. It's not just folks don't know where to get the news. They want it to be easy. They want the information to be easily obtained is what they want. And they don't want a whole lot of words. Just give me the meat of it and let me gain my own understanding, and then I can have action. But giving me a 5-page article to read about something that may or may not interest me, not going to do it. I need mine in small bites and pieces. So that's just my opinion on that.
Have you've had the chance to look at our website?
Mhm.
Do you find that it has a lot of information on it that could be valuable to uh, our community?
Absolutely. 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 I mean, that's all I got on that is yes,
Yeah, because
absolutely.
information applied is power,
Hmm.
and it doesn't cost anything. From my perspective, that's why they don't have pay phones no more, because everybody has a phone, and if you got
Right.
a phone, you can get access to a lot of information.
Right.
Uh, Tell me this. Now let's get on. I want to get on these politicians' backs for real.
Okay. Okay.
Uh, how do you feel about when you've tried to contact any of our politicians, our local politicians, the ones that represent us? How I met you was a article I saw that my friend Eric Wesson had done on you about politicians not returning phone calls. Talk a little bit about that, what your experience has been.
So several months ago, it was in the spring actually, I made contact with someone who I have a pretty casual, loose relationship with. And so he was talking um, where we were at happy hour. And so he was just talking about some projects and things that he was doing in the community and the things that were happening. And I was like, oh, okay, well, I live in the community. I don't know anything about these things. It's great. So what kind of resources are available? I started to think about my mother who lives in the inner city. She's older and lives alone. I'm thinking, well, what kind of resources are available as far as roof repair or home repair, those kinds of things. And so he said, yeah, you're kind of young and you may not qualify, but because you've been in the community so long, maybe there's got to be something available for you. Okay, great. So I followed up with him, shot him an email and said, hey, I just wanted to follow up, give you a reminder that we had this conversation. You had some resources for me. So that went dead for a while. And then I saw him, and the next time I saw him, I said, hey, so I sent you the email following up from our conversation. Oh, yeah. You sent it to the wrong email. I want you to send it to this email. Okay, well, I sent it to the one you gave me, but okay, we'll do that. And so next time I saw him, I said, hey, so I sent you, the questions that I had following up from our conversation. And so we kind of just did that, little dance for several occasions when I saw him. And then he said, well, let me give you my phone number. Just shoot me a message, reminding me. And I said, okay, I'll do that. And so hey, just wanted to follow up, sending you another message on what we talked about. Oh yeah, let me get back to you. Didn't get back to me. All right. So I just, continued to follow up. And then I said, I'm really frustrated about this. I reached out to someone else who um, is in politics here in Kansas City, who I have a really good relationship with, reached out for help and really got pushed off. Um, you know, I have something else to do today. I can't call you today. Then I follow up the next day. Oh, I got this going on. I can't call you. So it was like, wow, this is really interesting. Um, and so I posted that message on Facebook because I was going through a lot. Me and my sister were going through a lot with my mother, who had a fall. She broke her hip. She couldn't get the support that we felt like she needed through the Medicare system. And so I started to reach out again. And then when I put that post on Facebook, it was purely out of frustration and the letdown that I felt from these folks who love to talk about how much they're doing in the community with regard to projects and how much those projects cost and what money that will bring to the city. Well, that's great. But what about the individuals who live within the bounds of your area that you're supposed to be looking out for? I mean, that's what they do. They're supposed to look out for the people, right, and make sure that we have access to resources. And so I was just completely, let down and very disheartened by that. And I'm thinking, why am I even voting? Like, that never crossed my mind before I had this situation. Why am I voting for people who will not take the time to even call me back or say, hey, here's a resource for you? And so, that's, how it started. And so I saw him again yesterday, which is very timely because I sent him another message yesterday. I said, hey, I'm really disappointed in the tragedy of this situation and the fact that you can't even take the time to return a phone call or give me the resources. So he gave me his assistant's number and he said, that was my error. I should have just given you my assistant's phone number from the beginning. Okay, I don't know if that's what you should have done or not, but I called the assistant and left a message and still have not heard back from him. It's been 24 hours. So when I saw this person, yesterday, I reiterated, like, what is, going on? What is the problem with collecting this information? And he basically said to me that it was my job as his constituent to stay on him. He encourages all of his constituents to stay on him to make sure that he's doing what it is that he's been elected to do. I said, no, sir, that is not the way That is not the way that that is supposed to work. But he wholeheartedly believed that it was my responsibility to stay on him to make sure that he did what
No,
it
that's
was that he
gaslighting. No, he didn't wholeheartedly believe shit. Excuse
did.
my expression. Uh,
Okay.
uh, I find, and I know most of them, they're around here taking advice from, they think, gurus that
Mhm.
understand social media and what have you, and they don't answer the phone. And they think they can go to events and smile and
Mhm.
take a photo and then say what they're doing.
Mhm. Mhm.
But I got news for all of them with Cascade Media Group and the Kansas City Call and some other things that we're doing to wake our community up.
Mhm.
That stuff is not going to be allowed to happen. And most of them have got their second terms now, and
Mhm.
they're feeling real comfortable. But
Mhm.
without accountability, there's no reason for them to even be in office.
Exactly. That is exactly right. And so, I said to him further, when I made that post on Facebook, people want to know who you are, and I said, but that honestly is not what I'm trying to do. I'm not trying to ruin anyone. I'm not trying to do that. I'm just asking for help. And I'm asking you to be responsible for doing what you said that it is you would do. Now, I'm not above it, but that's not the goal. And that is not why I started all this way back in the spring. And I want to give you an opportunity to make things right, to do the right thing, not only by me, but all of your other constituents that you are probably doing the same thing to, ignoring
They
them.
are. Let me say this. And it's not just them, our political leadership, in our community. People will cross you out, do a lot of foul things to you, and then see you and act like everything is all right.
Mhm.
And that
Mhm.
is supposed to be normal. You're supposed to accept that because you're not in position to deal with, and there's so
Right.
much fake stuff going on with our community, with one another.
Mhm.
Everybody's smiling, and from my perspective, uh the black this, the black that, the black excellence, and you got these consultants having these programs like what we have,
Mhm.
talking about issues, being paid, and there are no results. All this money is going down a dark tube for would-be leadership.
Mhm.
And I thought it was really important when I saw your article, because what I am here at Cascade trying to do is start a movement, the wave of the future, that get plugged in to Cascade Media Group so that you can know what's going on, and these people can't keep operating, as far as I'm concerned, in the dark. They're in the
Mhm.
light, but some of our people are more gangster than Trump. How they using uh, social media and what they're actually doing. And I'm gonna leave it at this: they are elected to take care of our business, and above all, unless you're an idiot, they're gonna take care of corporate business first.
Mhm.
Then they're supposed to take care of us and themselves. But what they wind up doing is take care of themselves and their cronies. And then when you criticize them, they want you to be the demon. You gotta
Mhm.
you gotta you gotta call 20 different numbers to contact them. And then when they see you, they, oh well, I forgot, or get back with me and all of this. Damn, it's Christmas now. I with your ass in the summertime
Right.
and still haven't gotten any response. And I think until we air this, until we put them on Front Street and not be afraid of the repercussions, they're gonna keep doing it.
Yeah, I don't see any repercussions. I don't see
Well,
any.
most of us, I'm saying, the jobs that we have are tied to some economic
Oh, true.
situation. And so we can't speak truth to power. And when
That's
you
true.
can't even speak truth to power, all that silence, all it does is embolden the people that you put in office. And most of the
Mm-hmm.
time, at the end of the day, they think they're better than you. They won't say that.
Mm-hmm.
But all you have to look at is the social circles in which they circulate
Mm-hmm.
and the type of things that they do put on social media. Look at what I'm eating. Look what I'm wearing. Look what I'm driving.
Mm-hmm. That is very true. I would definitely have to agree with that. But it's so unfortunate. It's easier to believe the process when you're far away from the process. But when you actually engage in the process is when you find that this is not what I thought it was.
Hey man, it's sausage. Let me tell you this. I said this. This is 35 years ago when I first started learning what politics was about, and especially our politicians. I said it's like learning that your mother was a prostitute. That's how I'm saying. Well, I'm giving it to you raw
Mhm.
when or shit, you've been living with a mass killer all your life and you don't know it.
Mhm.
I'm saying it's surprising when you think these people are really representing you, and then if you do a deep dive and peel the onion, you see that they are representing you, but they're not representing you
Right.
in the way that is going to change the legislation and move the needle forward as it relates to economics in our community.
Mhm. Yeah.
So I've spouted off enough. Uh, in closing, what would you have to say to our community that you feel uh, would help uh, alleviate some of the issues we talked about? You got 5 minutes.
Oh, that's way more than what I need. But hey, I say get in the fight, right? Whatever that means for you, apply pressure. Like I have no qualms about speaking with this man and telling him, how I feel about his lack of action, because that's the only way it's going to get resolved. If I would have made those initial emails and never wouldn't have got a response, that would have been okay with him. But that's not okay for me. That's not okay because I'm not only advocating for myself, I'm advocating for others who are in the same situation. I don't know how many responses that I got where people say, I understand, or that's the way it is, or now you know politics, those sort of things. It's unacceptable and it's wrong. You're taking advantage of people. You're asking them to vote for you because you're promising to do XYZ. Okay, well, that's great. But did you do any of those X, Y, or Z while you were in office? And if you didn't, do you have a plan moving forward? Now, my vote is just one vote, but I tell you what, if I encourage other people to speak out on the issues that they're having, those votes are going to start mattering to you guys. You guys, meaning the politicians who don't even like to be called politicians, but I don't know what else to call it. Um, when people start speaking up and speaking out, then we're going to have a whole nother problem. And I hope that encourages folks that who feel like they are better than us. They know the systems better than we do. It's another level of have and have nots. Hoping that those folks will come to understand that the people that you are supposed to be representing could really engage other people to support you if you just do what it is you said you would do. That's it. I mean, it's that simple. And if you can't do something, if you don't know the answer, find it. You said you have an aide, ask the aide to do it. That's it. That's who you said I should be talking to anyway, right? So if the aide is doing the work, connect me to the aide and I can leave you alone. But lack of action is not what we should be here for. It's just unacceptable. And I feel hurt by the whole thing and having faith in the system and the influences that I've seen here in the community, and then knowing that they won't take action on behalf of an individual because it's not a project, it's appalling. And we shouldn't accept it, period. So the same platform that I used, to express my displeasure is the same platform that I could use to say, you know what? this is an amazing person. He did what he said he would do. He's an upstanding person, and he has my support. Well, I can't do that. Now, am I going to bash you? Probably not. But am I going to tell the truth? Absolutely will, each and every time. And so I'll be posting again if I don't hear from his aide, to let the folks know who are following this story that I still don't have any resolve. But again, I would like to thank you. I would also like to thank Eric Wesson, who reached out to me and put the information into his paper. And I was totally shocked. I was like, whoa, people are paying attention. And so I just appreciate those who are caring for our community and the things that you all are engaging in that bring light to those things that are happening for and in our community, against our community. I want to be a part of that. So whatever that looks like. So if that looks like me going out and looking for information on how I can support you and what is a good fit for me to support, I want to do that. I just feel like now it's my duty to do more and not just complain about the process, but what is within my power to be able to do. So that's my takeaway from the whole situation, is what is it that I could be doing better? How can I engage more? How can I be not so passive in my support or disdain for certain things that have happened in our community? So that's my takeaway, and that's what I'm going to start doing.
I love it. You give me hope in the human condition in general. I'm trying to be more humble myself. I'm trying to have more empathy per se. But it's overwhelming to me with all of the suffering going on in the world. When I look at Africa and I look at the poverty, and I look at the wars over in the Ukraine, and half the planet is warring. Almost 100% of the planet is burning up. Mm-hmm. And then you have the people that are at the helm not really paying attention to their constituents. Mm-hmm. I'm going to steal my partner. I like stealing Jim Watts' closing. He always is really too damn nice. He's always talking about, it was a plum pleasing pleasure having you on the show. Okay. That's what you want to hear. So
not really.
Yeah, you want to hear. It was a plum pleasing pleasure, Sonya, to serve.
No, I just want to hear that. Hey, I appreciate you coming on and sharing your story. That's it. And you've already told me that, so I got
politicians.
No.
That's what I'm talking about, not for me. I don't have no power. I'm saying for the politicians, when you ring them up, you want to say, oh, it's a plum pleasing pleasure for you to bring us this news. We're going to work on it right away.
Right. And then you actually work on it. How about that?
Oh, please. And then you know what? Your husband say, wake up, honey, wake up. You're dreaming.
Right. Yeah, somebody's going to wake me up at that dream. Or a nightmare in this reality.
But we're going to use our closing on all our shows. When you invest in your community, you're really just investing in yourself. Good night.
The program is brought to you by the Kansas City Business Association.